Well, welcome to the bridge. I am not Ken Jones. I'm filling in for Ken Jones today. My name is Drew Cappuccino, or that's what people call me. I'm Drew Casaccio. Since they can't pronounce my last name, I just go by Cappuccino, and I like a lot of coffee. So that's what I do.
Cappuccino.
It's good. Though. Yeah. So obviously,
did you get pistachio too? Or
I get pistachio, casaccio, caciaccio. I get it all, and that's okay. I go by any of those. I just kind of like the cappuccino side of it, being the Italian that I am. And I drink a lot of those. And my wife's telling me I need to slow down on those. So
I'm surprised you didn't say something about flavor. But
let me put it in that context. Flavor. It's all about the flavor with Drew Cappuccino.
There we go.
So obviously, Mr. Phil Wallace, I'm gonna try to ramble through all the stuff you do. Just a great guy, a god in our community. Author, writer, coach, mentor, and in chatting with you quite a bit. It's the stuff that you do with kids, man. It's fantastic. You're coaching them. You're inner city stuff and trying to make a difference in the world. So I appreciate you for that.
Man. So for today, we were talking about topics, and this is actually off cuff just because it's who you are.
Yeah.
I don't want to necessarily go into any recent events that are going on in society.
Okay.
I think a topic that you'll be really good off the cuff is just respect towards your fellow person, moving in life with love, taking that time to understand the other person. Because I do feel with certain things, and we talk about, me and Kent on the show, like the man behind the mirror pulling the strings and stuff like that. And one of the things I consistently hear is we know the media is just trying to divide us. And I think that as long as you and I are willing to have a conversation, that plan can't come to play. Right? What is it?
He said, "You're a different white guy." Nice. First of all, I'm not white.
We keep it diverse.
I'm I am cultural. But thank you anyway. Good to see you, Sal.
Morning, gentlemen. Morning, Sal. SG3.
Good morning, SG3.
Rundown.
Man, they're just lining up right now.
Absolutely.
It's all about you, babe.
Nah, man, this is all the family.
That's awesome.
And just we had a conversation at the coffee shop downtown Crystal Lake.
Yeah.
What was that?
Aroma. Yeah.
Downtown Crystal Lake, fantastic coffee. If you have not tried it and you're in the area, by all means.
Oh yeah, no, it's a great setting, great atmosphere. Cappuccinos all the way. They're gonna name one after me soon. I'm sure
they will.
No.
They have to.
No,
that's a flex in the suburbs.
It has to be.
At coffee shops, they name their cappuccino.
I don't know if you know that.
I don't know if you know this, but order the number for it's me.
Right.
But
order the Drew Cappuccino.
What do you? I admire the way that you live your life, man.
Thanks, bro.
You really, the people that I've seen who know you know your heart. That's what it seems like. And I feel like you always try to move in a place of teamwork and unity and love. And I think that that's just something that's definitely needed nowadays, with so many people being so quick to be divided based off my letter is different than your letter. My crayon looks different than your crayon.
Right. Right.
How did you get that positive disposition, man? Because it's needed.
Well, I think that it took me a minute as a kid, coming from a large Italian Sicilian family out of Chicago, right? Grew up on the south side of Chicago.
Right.
And I'm a Gen Xer. So, there wasn't too many labels. It was, we were friends in a diverse culture, no matter where you were with school and everything else. So we didn't really focus upon that, or whatever you want to do in your own time. If you're a man like another man, great. As long as you're not hurting somebody else. That was our whole thing. If you're not hurting somebody else, you be you. We don't even need to label it. And what struck me is my mother was an educator. She was a Catholic school teacher. She's an ex-non-Roman Catholic Church. And so she had great morals. Right. And she told me, she's like, listen, you never know the struggle behind somebody's eyes.
Ever.
So if you approach somebody that is a little more aggressive, if you deal with somebody that seems like they got to be better than you, there's a fight for that behind the scenes. And so listen, have some compassion towards it, and try to find some similar ground in order to move forward with that person. And when you do that, you find that your network grows. So that's kind of what I went off with, rest in peace, mom. She was an awesome person. She was a giver, a go-giver.
Right.
And I try to follow those rules to the best I can. I'm not perfect, beyond perfect. Actually, I'm just,
not too many people are.
No. And, I just live on the blueberry, man, and we all do. And you also got to remember that we just visit here. We don't really own anything because you can't take anything with you. The only thing that you can leave behind is the legacy of who you are. And hopefully the generations will be able to pick up on that and carry that moving forward. That's how your name moves on. That's how you live forever.
Absolutely. So you said something where you talked about, let people live how they want to live as long as it's not hurting anybody. And they talk about that freedom is being able to swing your arms until the arms come in contact with someone else.
Correct.
Right? I think that so many times we want to, and you're talking about the labeling aspect of things, I get to use your label for me to have an excuse to be in your business. Why? Again, if it's not impeding on my progress, it's not impeding on my freedom, if it's not affecting me, who cares?
Right.
Why should I care? Oh, just all of a sudden, because your letter is different than my letter, I get a chance to go off on you. All of a sudden, because your letter is different than my letter, I get to be condescending or rude or sarcastic. Like, for what?
Well, I think, too, that, there's people mistake pride of what they are, who they are, what they want to be, with aggression of force feeding that. And when it comes to a descriptive label, and we'll go with the black and white thing, right? So it's easy for someone like me to make a description of a black person by being like, yeah, I used to be friends with this black guy.
Right.
And why can't you just say he was your friend? Why do you have to say black guy? Well, because in the story, it was descripting of, I went to an all black school and I was the only white one there.
Right.
So that guy was the one sticking up for me because he was amongst his culture. Right. There's different ways.
In that situation.
You're right. Right.
Shout out to Brandon, man.
Artis out there. Shout out to him. Saved my life several times. And people say, well, we don't see color. We don't see it is culture is really what it breaks down to be. And when it comes to privilege, it's if you live here, you have the choice to be privileged as well. It's about what you do and what steps you take and the people you network around in order to become whatever the privilege and the defining of privilege could be, just living a great life or treating others with respect. Because that usually goes a long way on the character of your name and who you are, and not what you are, where you come from. So I think that's big. People seem to forget. They also seem to forget that because I disagree with you, that I hate you. Well, that's not the case. We forget that a lot.
But okay, let's go a bit further. Me and you, let's say we're both African American, right? We're both black. We're both same. We're identical. Right?
Sure.
Me and you can have disagreements, and that's fine.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, if me and you have a disagreement now, though, all white people think that this Republican said this to me.
Right.
And I feel like we put more emphasis on, again, the box than realizing this is just people. Right?
Yeah.
You're going to get along with people. You're going to have conflict with people. You're going to have conflict with people that you get along with on most occasions. Right? Me and Kent will not always see eye to eye. But the reason why we had this show is because, hey, listen, your letter is different than my letter, but I still love you. So how are we going to figure this thing out?
Correct. Right.
Being mad, don't understand it. You're still my uncle. Still going to be here. Still going to see you at the wedding. So what's up?
Well, and two, it gets misconstrued real easy, Phil, because, I come from a different generation. I'm Gen X, and it's, sensitivity today is real touchy, right? So where I come from, growing up in a diverse culture, we would joke about it. And then somebody on the outside might hear that. And then they take that seriously, right? I can't tell you how many times in high school I've been called meatball, or sending. Even with my daughter in today, they keep sending her pictures of pasta, being like, these are things that you like, right? Right. So, it's kind of like, and we take that in good fun because now we get to come back with something funner. Right. Whatever happened to your mama jokes, right? I mean, we can't. Nothing can.
And Bert his mama went out on the town last. And then I expect you to come back in. Right. I just gave your mama a piggyback.
Right. That's right. Well, I was gonna. But it was, and then it just became fun. It was the, hey, how can I insult with joke that built a bond.
Right.
And now it's just a lawsuit.
It is.
Right.
It is. And me and Ken have had this conversation a few times though, because me and you could joan and go back and forth and say the things, but we always knew whether it was a neighborhood where you said you went to an all-black school, segregated Florida, out here in Chris Lake, whatever. Like I had a parent 2 weeks ago. Hey, you're gonna get an invitation to the graduation. You're gonna be the only black guy there, but blah, 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 we're gonna bring this.
Right.
Like, oh well, it's Burlington, so I figured a snowstorm was gonna be here. I expected to walk into a blizzard when I showed up.
That's right.
But we're having
I was a golf ball in space.
One of my buddies, he goes, for his senior, and they're interviewing all the seniors, he goes, I'm an ink spot in a bowl of milk at this high school.
That's hilarious.
But I feel like if you have the love, you can say these things. I feel that a lot of times people try to do the jab and then play it off with it. And you know that the vibe is different. You know that it came from a different place. You know that, like, if the joking's not your culture, don't make it your culture. Just stay there where you are.
Right.
But don't try to say
don't try to join in. Right. Because you got to know somebody.
Right.
I've come across people too, and this doesn't even go into a cultural thing. And they try to joke with me and they don't know me. And I'm like, you don't know me well enough to say that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Let's learn each other first.
We had that a few times on this show. But
oh, I bet.
It's like, hey, right. Him do that.
Right. I've heard a couple of those. Yeah.
Much love though. We're getting there.
Yeah. No.
Getting there.
Right. But yeah, so for you, being a coach and helping kids and teaching this way,
right,
the way it should be. Now, listen, I know the world is full of anger. The world is on fire, Phil, and there's a lot of things that aim into that direction intentionally to keep the minds busy.
Right.
Look over here, but not over here. Right. It's the art of distraction. So there's a lot of that goes on too. But people are individuals as well. It doesn't matter where you're from.
Right.
It just matters what your actual belief system. The problem that we face is we'll say racism, and true racism is taught because it comes down a generational line. And how do you put a block to that, right? I mean, listen, and that goes to, you see on the internet, it's like, not all cops are bad,
right?
Not all black people are thieves, right? Not all Italians are mobsters, right? Well, you stop the Z. But
kidding.
Right. Drew Cappuccino. That's why I don't use my real last. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so it's what are the steps that, as a coach, what do you believe that is our steps as a society, and even breaking it down to communal basis, communities, right?
Right.
What are the steps that we should be trying to teach our kids in order to progress forward? Because if it keeps up, all it's going to do is hinder. And segregation, it would be the least of our worries at that point.
I love coaching for my uncle's program. And so we have A to Z, which is the local team, and then we have Lincoln. And so I'm the program director for both, but right now I've been focusing on practicing with the Lincoln team. And when we bring it in, it's 1, 2, 3, Lincoln, 4, 5, 6 family.
Okay.
But in this family, you're going to see white, brown, black.
Yep.
You're going to see diversity. You're going to see Hispanic. You're going to see Indian. You're going to. So if I've just told you that this is family, how can you hate family?
Right.
If I have an Italian brother,
I'm
not really going to hate Italians. Like we talked about sometimes with parental situations, you'll see it out here is Tom can be racist until Tom has a mixed grandchild. Now you got some black buy-in.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Tom.
I half a token. What you say? Oh man, well put.
But you'll see it that all of a sudden Tom will now. Hey, granddad, what you've told me for 60 years is no longer okay because my grandchild is mixed, granddad. So I can't let you say that no more. And now Tom finally stands up to dad. Tom finally starts to try to ask questions and get an understanding because it's in the family.
Mm-hmm.
I love being able to coach because in my position, I tell parents all the time, like, this gives me an opportunity to have their ear for life, for mentorship, for people skills, for business skills, stuff like that. But it's also so that when these things are happening, And I can joke with one of my kids from McHenry, like, hey, man, I want to come to your graduation. Is it safe?
No.
I feel concerned going through
Right.
your neighborhood. But I'm joking with him. He's like, no, we're family. This is that and the third. And I made sure this. And I asked, how do you feel this way? How did you feel this? And we can have those conversations.
No.
And I get a chance to make sure that I guess that seed of the R word, because he said I can't say the R word because Facebook will shut it down.
Oh, well, I just learned something today. Okay.
The seed of ism doesn't get a chance to take root, right? And remind you that, hey, families in this huddle, families in this, families on the bench with you, families at these practices with you, so that we have those discussions. Hopefully they understand that it may not be, despite what my parents say, I love Coach Phil.
Yep.
It's like an uncle to me.
Yeah.
So I'm never going to believe that all blacks are bad.
Right.
Because one of them is my favorite.
They can't, there's a category. They make a category, right? Mm-hmm. Based on one person doing something wrong. And then all of a sudden it's, hey, that's how it is. Right. And it's ridiculous.
I've struggled with that because you said
I bet
all cops are bad.
Yep.
But we'll believe all blacks are, or all Hispanics are,
correct,
or all are terrorists.
Yep. Agreed.
You can't, because only a smaller percentage of that.
The variable that sits on the table nowadays is because you have the LGBT. Am I saying all those letters right? I don't even know. Well, so you got, and so and that falls on the table a little bit, right? So there's now more forwardness with gender equality and, what gender are you, and gender confusion. And there's a big battle with that. And then, there's categories that fall into that play too. And once again, I still say, and I always will, yeah, that's great. You be you. Just don't hurt anybody in your path. But also understand that the world's not going to change overnight to that. And to make us do all kinds of new homework on learning pronouns and everything else, that's going to take time for people to understand, right? And so you hear so many different things about it. Right. And everybody's opinion actually sounds like it makes sense. And a lot of them are conflicting. But in order to come down as a whole, just remember, I respect you because you're going through something. And that's not going to change how I feel about you as a person. Right. If everybody had that mentality, that mindset, that would just ease the blow. And the focus wouldn't have to be on it so hard anymore. It's about now focusing about living that life. Right. So, great answer though. I mean, there's several things out there that could be done. Right. I don't think the educational system is really helping with it. I don't know. Do you have different thoughts to that?
I think the education system is definitely trying in a lot of aspects, right? But for being out here, am I going to wait for Woodstock to give Billy the black experience?
Right.
No, Billy, come to practice.
Right.
I think that, obviously they're going to do their job, and it's not a downplay at all, but I think that as far as like making that connection, that aspect with a delivery as far as comical or the one that makes sense to the kids, I think that's a strong point of me. And I think that I could do a pretty good job of saying like, hey, I'm from here. I know what it's like out here. And I could be your example for, although you may be seeing this on TV, what does this tell you?
Correct.
Okay, then. So no, we don't all talk like that. We don't all have our pants sagging. We don't all rob, steal, whatever.
Right.
So can't tell you, if you have to tell your parents, no, not all of them are like that, because one of the most intellectual ones that I know coaches me Mondays and Wednesdays.
Correct. Well, and and rightfully so, my father was.
Morning, Jen.
Good morning to everybody. I haven't been paying attention to the chat, so you got to poke at me a little bit. Tony the Kid says, yes, inner jokes have to be taught not to cross that line. True.
I have to.
Yeah, that's true.
And I feel that at the same time, if you don't know how to play the sport, be a spectator for a little bit so that hey, I can say this, I can't say this. That's too far until you feel more comfortable in that realm.
Yeah. Yeah, Nate. Kent is off saving the world right now. He put on a Superman cape and he's going to do things. So I'm trying to fill the big shoes that he carries.
Superman Jones.
So I'm doing what I can. Drew Cappuccino. Nice to meet you, Nate. Jen, every show, you're awesome. Good morning. Thanks for joining. Awesome.
You were talking about the movement and the progress that they're making. And I love Code and Chappelle, but they're making progress at a pretty good rate.
Chappelle's awesome.
The Closer.
I admire him.
I watched The Closer like 2 days ago.
Did you?
And he's like, I've said, I think they're just moving at a fantastic pace, and I'm jealous of the progress because. And again, before I say that, I'm going to preface this with it's not bashing or anything like that. It's just to sit with recent events. I'll say it that way. With recent events, and let's say CRT is banned, but as you said, we have to learn the pronouns.
Correct. Right.
Banned in the entire state, but now we're doing education.
Yep.
If they're trying to teach inclusion, there's a lot of backlash, but at this school, they don't have to tell you the transition phase of your child that's in elementary school.
It's I wasn't gonna go there. I'm glad you did, but I wasn't gonna go there.
And I again, like I want everyone to have their freedom and be equal and live how they.
Kids are made of rubber. They don't know. Stop feeding them things that might lead them. Let that naturally unfold. If that's the case, then there's support to it.
Right.
Don't force feed it. Right.
I'm gonna start screaming, help, help. Nate says I'm gonna start screaming, help, help, and maybe Superman Kent will bring me a margarita. He might.
It would be a half a margarita by the time I got to you. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, no doubt.
It's not gonna be a full one though. But yeah, let them find that path.
Yeah.
I saw we're not going to talk about recent events, but one thing I did see on the recent events was like the Little Mermaid came out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the dudes, what are the
big controversy
for a lot of reasons, but one of the critiques was it felt force-fed for inclusion. Like they were going out of their way for inclusion.
Is that what you feel about it?
I didn't see it yet, but just from the premise of no.
Why would it have to be just because we changed the culture? Right? Why is it automatically the go-to?
I mean, you heard Sebastian's voice. Does Ariel really live there next to Jamaica? No. I don't think that this lily white shell covered girl is who we're going to find in tropical water.
Right. Well, I mean,
that son's going to give her a heck of a sunburn.
We'll take it to the next step. I'm a comic nerd.
Right.
Okay. And they're talking about the new Superman being of culture. Right. And it's like, awesome. Like, how long do we have to wait to make change? Because change could be great. It could be different. How many times can you watch Superman and go, I know the origin story. I know everything about him. What can you do differently with the same concept?
Right.
Change it.
And I mean, it did box office numbers. I mean, same with Miles Morales. All of a sudden, we got a Black Spider-Man. Well, that's going to be it. No, that actually blew up. Kids loved it.
Oh, fantastic. And even in the comics, man, Miles has been around for a long time. They just never showcased it.
Why is it?
Right. Because the world, it was different. People thought different.
Okay, but if I were to say box of crayons, you had to draw a fairy. What color crayon are you picking? What's the right one to choose for this imaginary creature?
Right.
If it's a comic, what's the right color to choose for this imaginary?
It's not even real.
Mermaid, right. What's the right if it's a unicorn? No one's at Hogwarts like this Pegasus is the no. Because it's a mythical creature, bro. Like this is for fun and entertainment. Why are you guys so open arms? But the point I was making was they were frustrated that it was forced inclusion. And so I was sharing with some of my friends. We had this conversation. One of my friends said, because he's got a child, and my kid's big into dinosaurs and stuff, so he watches the animated Jurassic World on Netflix, whatever.
Yeah.
And he said, well, when it was them making cartoons, lesbians, no one had a problem with inclusion. This says ages 3 to 8.
Yep. Right.
So in the middle of Raptors, two chicks like each other. Why is this a problem when it's for African American culture? But anytime
it's something else, it seems to be flowing like water, and it's okay, right?
So not my words. These are just questions that I get asked.
When was the last time you watched a Woody Woodpecker cartoon?
It was like 3 years ago with my son. It was the movie.
It was, I went back in time and I watched that, and I was almost embarrassed because I didn't catch it as a kid, but I was embarrassed. I'm like, man, that's why there's a standstill, because I've fed kids a lot of bad things. Some Tom and Jerry's and Popeye, and a lot of those.
Pepe Le Pew.
Right.
Dude, you need a restraining order.
Stalker. Right. And got away with it.
After the 8th stiff arm, bro, she's not feeling it. What? The Little Mermaid was a hoarder. Yes. You see all that junk she collected? Let's worry about that
instead. Yeah.
Yeah, she had a problem.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there was a lot of collections going on down there. It was like a picker's paradise. Her
garage sale's gonna be impeccable.
Oh, yeah. Lots of antiques. Yeah, no, and I agree with that. So it's on our screens, it's in our schools, it's everywhere, and the only thing to really do and hope is time. And that's hard because there's a patient problem with that, right? We want it now. There's a lot of us that want it now, and we have to. They say that you have to wait for something to completely break in order to fix it. Do you, though? Right? If you get enough mindsets saying the same thing or the right thing, I mean, that's how this movement went with certain communities. So why is it still a standstill with other communities? The women had it hard, right? No, African American women, even hard. Can you imagine that struggle? Right? Hard. And so people see that, and then you get the other side of it. Well, yeah, their ancestors had it hard. Well, there's an education bias that gets passed down the generations.
Right.
So that still rolls in effect. I get it. And should people move on from that? Maybe stop talking about it a lot on both sides can create a better equality, because if we keep pushing the labels mean something more and more powerful.
So I would love, I'm not, okay, so I want to be able to not talk about it, right? I think I would love for that to be the solution.
It's hard though. I get it.
Well, here's my thing. If I look at our history and I look to a time where without talking about it, hey, out of the kindness of our heart, sorry about that whole slave thing, bro.
Yeah, it's
out of the kindness of our heart. I was thinking about it, and we did redline you guys. Like it wasn't prior to being caught and brought to the news.
Sure.
That this company or this enterprise or whatever said, I couldn't sleep last night just thinking about how we do these people in this inner city. Let's fix this. It only comes from being blasted on social media or put it on in the news or anything like that. They're finally like, okay, well, fine. Since you brought to light how bad we've treated people, now we have to do something,
right,
and try to save face.
Well, and two, there's pretentiousness with that too, because I mean, the Pima Indians out of Arizona. Well, that was a long time ago, and I didn't take their land, and they got casinos out of it. But they all struggle from addiction, and they have a hard time in life because of how that was passed down.
Right.
And there's still people that live here. And here's the problem that I have the most of, right? We created these borders. Okay. Once again, we visit here. We don't own anything. Right? These borders, well, we got to keep them out. Keep people out? You're talking about it like they're not even people, right? And then we need to worship this. I'm like, oh, the white guy that you want to worship on the cross, but he's from Bethlehem. He's from, I'm
the
sure,
same place that you said were terrorists.
Correct. Imagine contradiction. Is like, we need to, they, and you get a lot of they and there.
No, hear me out though. Everyone from over there is bad. Is the mindset, I guess.
Correct.
But the one that we're praising is from right there.
Right. Looks just like Osama bin Laden.
So
right.
At what point do we realize, hey, maybe not everyone from over there is
correct?
Bad. If the best one is
you
good,
have people run in variable. They are either this way or that way. It's up to you to figure out which one individually you're going to like or not like based on the opinion, the conversations that you have with them. You can't hold a whole gambit of people responsible for the errors of a few. And that's exactly what happens.
So we've talked about this as far as with the race aspect of it, but if I can dehumanize an individual, that I can do whatever I want to with them, right? If I can make them feel like they're not humans and talk about them like they're not humans, then I can treat them like they're not humans, right? So if I tell you these illegal immigrants, I'm not going to tell you kids,
right? Families.
Then it doesn't matter that they're in cages for ICE.
Doesn't matter. Oh, we'll say, they were born here. Oh, we'll just send their parents home.
You know what that
and
looks
then they
like?
can stay here, but they're like 8.
That looks like Elijah coming home from elementary school and his dad is not there.
Right.
And there's no notification. There's no, what is an 8-year-old going to?
Right.
That's a problem.
It is a huge problem.
And I don't know if we'll say this because it might get flagged. Someone else brought up the fact, though, you have all these kids that no one's looking for in a country that has a very big problem with.
Huge problem.
Huge problem.
Yeah. We'll call it deliveries, right? Because that's it. And so there's trades, and we can tack that a little bit and be careful about it. But you know, if you are,
I'll say Epsteinisms.
Well, let's just go right for the go.
Right. So but then that way I didn't say
pedophilia.
I said Epsteinisms, and hopefully that's not a flag.
Well, and so kids coming home from school, right? Walking home. Remember walking home from school? You didn't have a care in the world. Right. Now it's like your parents are telling you, man, oh no, you tell me where you're at. They're tracking you on their phone. They just don't know, right? And now we go up a little bit in age, teenagers, they got cars, right? Oh, why is that shopping bag tied to my bumper? Oh, didn't know that was a sign. Yep, this is a Target. Zip ties on the door handles. Did you know that? Yeah, these are signs that you're being targeted. And then a van pulls around the corner and grabs you. It's a system. They have a system, Phil. So, right. So that's a massive problem. We don't hear. We hear all of the. My feelings are hurt. I'm offended, but nobody's ever died from being offended. Now, we have problems like that, but there's no focal point to it. You hear about it, and there's tactics and teams and stuff that are for that, and programs that are for that. But that should always be the number one. Hey, look out for this. If you didn't hear about the zip tie or the bag, that's a problem.
That's a problem.
Right.
If there's not footage of how these kids were kept.
Correct.
Where are they now? What's the update on that?
Right.
Then thousands and thousands of kids were just being able to pulled and put into whatever situation our country decided to put them into without consequence. Because we dehumanized them. We told you that these are awful immigrants, and so you're not going to keep track on that.
Right. Nope. Right.
You're watching Real Housewives or whatever the case may be, right? So you're not seeing any footage of where these young children are going into a place where 400,000 kids go missing a year or something like that.
Yeah, it's like the tunnel. You know, everybody's got the tunnel. They're in shipping containers. They're going overseas or being shipped to the island, right? And
the point should be that if my letter is different than your letter,
right,
we should just bicker, not the disparity.
Why don't we create an alphabet and fight the real battle? Right?
They don't want to do that.
So, I mean, you know, and these are the problems, and that's why Bridging Civil Tensions is one of my favorite shows, because you know there's a lot of controversy, and yeah, there's some uncomfortable conversation that goes along with it, but you know we're close,
right?
So you know it's comfortable for me to have this conversation with you. I wouldn't probably have the same conversation with somebody else that I don't know. Why? Because I don't know the struggle they're going through. I don't know the pain behind their eyes. I have to learn a person. And then as you open up as a person for them to learn you get to learn them. You're able to have these conversations. But awareness is key. Awareness is key. Be self-aware. Be aware of your surroundings. I slip up. I'm not perfect. I say things. Right. And then it's like brought to my attention. Hey, dude, that probably wasn't the right thing to say around a group of people. Right. And I'll be like, oh, well, yep. Lesson learned. Right.
But there's a difference between accidentally breaking a vase and being a bull in a china shop.
True.
Right?
Well, that's true. But then it's the perception of the person that takes it.
True.
And then makes it the bull in the china shop.
But Okay, and if you came to Uncle Zoe's house like Kent did, right? And Kent came to a party and he was the only white person in a house full of West Side Chicago, but he was cool as a fan. If you came with Kent and said something bad, but we saw, you'd be like, hey, my bad. I did that. I know the Kent and Phil joke and I said that, but I was out of place. Okay, you just bumped a vase.
Yep.
When it's like, bro, I can't take responsibility for how you interpreted my disrespect. All right, look, bro. You got options. Either humble yourself or get humbled.
Right.
Those are your options, right?
Right. I mean, there's a guy on YouTube. He's a hardworking man, and he has a friend of culture. I like to use the word of culture because it just makes everybody the same.
Right.
And he said he was invited to the barbecue, right? Now, if anybody knows, when you come to that kind of culture's barbecue, you coming, right? And he was the only one of his kind in his culture. And so, yeah, he was like, I was a little nervous. You know, I got there and I was greeted and hugged by grandmama, big mama, right? Hugged, welcomed. I had to try 13 different salads, and 3 of the salads were the same. And then I was asked, which one did you like better? Put in that position.
Nope.
And he's like,
don't answer that question.
After the barbecue, and they stacked my plate because I wasn't allowed to go get my own food. I stacked my plate. And then after the 3rd thing, I had the sweats, and I think I blacked out.
Itis.
Had the itis. And then they cleared the table and brought out all these desserts. And then it was time to play. I think he said it was bones. I'm not sure. And then there was games, right? And then
bones or spades.
Right. And then it was time to go.
Just don't be that weak partner though.
Right. And he said, then it was time to go. And man, I thanked everybody, you know, and I started walking back to my truck, and I got to my truck. I turned around and the entire party was standing behind me. And they were like, thank you for coming. We enjoyed your company. And we have another barbecue happening and whatever, 3 months from now. And we would love you to come. Is that okay? And he was like, oh, I wouldn't miss it for the world. Right. And so there's that perception. First bumping the vase. He did everything in his power too, because he didn't know what was acceptable, what wasn't. He didn't want to offend on the salads. He didn't want to. And then that was as simple as the respect that you were taught from your parents. So education. We're coming back to it, right? We're circling back. Yeah. And the fact that he probably had the parents that actually gave a shit about how he treated other people, regardless of where they were from and what culture they were.
So we've had this conversation on the show before, and it's I can't say one of my favorite topics, but I love this scenario. Do you think the ratio shortened the learning curve? Because when I go to South, I think it's like a 1 to 400 ratio.
Yeah.
And so there's really not a lot of pressure for you to watch what you say around me.
Right.
There's only 8 of us total in the school.
Yep.
Now, when there's 50 of me's, one of you
been there. Yeah.
All of a sudden, I find that you're a lot quicker to watch what you say, watch what you don't say, watch how you look at people. All of a sudden, all those cues that we couldn't figure out for all these years went out the window, and we tightened up real quick.
Oh yeah. Well, and 2, being in that scenario, I have learned to. I carried, like I said, I carried the same respect that I was taught.
Right.
And when it came down to that, the amount of friends I got out of it, next thing you know, I was being talked to the same as. Right. You're in the mix. Yeah, it doesn't matter at that point. It doesn't matter. Yeah. It doesn't matter what it is or how it is. And you know, there are lines that you can cross to where it's beyond offensive, right? That you don't want to get to. And so being aware and educating yourself is key to anything. Once it goes in here, Phil, it rattles around. There's no exiting. It'll be in there forever. Have you ever done something in your life where you were a little embarrassed about and you're like, oh, I could have handled that better or something? And then maybe 10 years down the line, you're driving your car and it pops into your head and you just go, right?
Driving range, off campus PE. sophomore year of high school, I embarrassed myself.
Did you?
I probably hit from me to the dry erase board.
You did one of those.
And now today, my friend's like, "You want to go to Top Golf?"
Well, and so, but you know, though, I mean, that's what keeps you on your toes.
Right.
It's those moments, our educational moments, as much as they hurt or suck or make you feel weird.
Yeah.
That's what keeps you on top of your game until the game becomes, I'm going to say it like this. When everybody is my brother, this is my brother saying, rest his soul. Until everybody's a nice bronze, it ain't going to matter. There's a big fight ahead. But we're moving towards the bronze, right? And then if that happens, that'll be a generation beyond generation beyond.
I gotta ask, do you mean like crayon bronze or biblical bronze?
Crayon.
Okay.
Yeah, because then nobody can.
Biblical bronze is still you.
Well, true. But and I think in for what he was saying was right. Now listen, I'm
skin of polished brass, polished brass, and ladies and gentlemen, Andrew.
Well, I mean, let's see, Sicilian, right? And this goes beyond a United States thing. I mean, listen, in Sicily and Italy, they don't jive. A lot of it don't. You know why? Because of the Moors. And the Moors came to Sicily, right?
That word again, man.
Right.
You've heard us talk about the right word that I'd never heard of in history class.
What, Moors?
I took European history and never learned about a black organization or culture that ruled Europe for 700 years. How?
I don't know. Is there a handbook? And if so, can we get a copy of that?
But that's like Tony told me about Tony sent me something through Sal that like hockey was originated by black people in Nova Scotia, Canada.
Yeah, it's true. Right. You never hear about it.
Ever.
It's about who takes it and runs with it. And it's usually, do I stop there? I don't know.
But then if we start showing more black, is it you're trying to force inclusion? Like what?
I know. Well, listen, it's not our world anymore. I mean, listen, we're of a certain age too, to where we can say, but Phil, that wall right there is blue. And we could say that to the newer generations all day, and they're going to be like, it's not blue. We don't call it blue anymore. It's red. That's the new red. And then try to convince us that wall is red. And we're like, I don't understand. Why do I have to call that wall red? My entire life, it was blue. Right. So now we have to relearn. It's not our world. It's theirs. It's the generation's world. It's the new generation and what the rules they want to put into play. It's their world. We're coming into now. Listen, as a Gen Xer, right? And I've heard it online before, and I laugh every time I hear it. They're like, "Oh, you think old people are bad? Wait till the next gen of old people come around." You know, Gen Xers, we don't care. We just put you in your place because we were raised as everybody was equal anyway. We didn't do any of that. It was a way we were raised, right? I guess that also depends on where you're from, right? And what when I moved from the city to the suburbs, it was all farmland. It was in Schaumburg-land area, right? And it was all farmland, and and then I had a little white kid come up to me, not talking of white, right? And I was like, "Where are you from? Cherrywood Lane? Really? Really? Can we just be you? Can we not try to pretend to be somebody else? Or you think that's because?" And that's the problem. That's what people utilize to be intimidating, right? And it's like, okay, that's ridiculous. But that's the way it is, right? So it's guys like you and it's guys like me that sit down and come together and say, well, I correct it when I see it.
But it's super awkward because, like, let's say that you see me shake hands with Ken, you see me shake hands with Scott, and then you go, yo, what up? And then I go, hi.
Right.
How are you?
Right.
You're talking like that because that's how we talk. However, one of us don't talk like that.
No, no, necessarily. No, you're right. But I grew up, I like I said, you will become the atmosphere you're in, right?
I'm with you, but okay.
And so that, I'm second nature to the atmosphere I'm in. When I hang out with you, I'm like, oh, makes me feel like I'm back in the day.
Right, but I can't. Okay, so based off where you're from, I don't think Kent Jones does not talk like Barefoot Trailer, Florida.
Sometimes he does.
Scott does, but not.
Well, Scott's a little more into it.
But so I can't treat Jen.
No,
Scott
right.
like Barefoot Pensacola, Florida.
No.
Like
No.
Trust me, I
Right.
know the arguments at the Circle K.
Yeah.
I can't be like, well,
No, mind you, I wouldn't talk to you any different than I would talk to anybody else.
hold on.
Because that's just who I am.
You have shoes on.
Where'd
You guys wear shoes?
How do you do that?
Oh, you're one of the good ones.
Right.
I can't say that to you because you shouldn't say that to people because it's offensive.
Right. Don't try this at home,
Please don't
folks.
try this at home. This is a trained professional.
You're Bill Haas. Okay. That's
Bill,
it, right?
Bill gets away with it.
Right.
Bill's coming to the barbecue.
Right.
The rest of you in the comments.
Bill's
say-
hosting the barbecue.
Oh man, Bill's got a Sean John shirt on.
What do we got here? Can you read that in my glass? I don't
Yeah,
know.
who would have thought when you think of hockey, what race do you see playing that sport? That's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's monetized.
It is.
And you would not, I wonder what percentage of the people of color who originated that sport even get profit from the sport that they created.
Hmm.
It-
And how deep does that tunnel go?
but okay,
Where
Yes.
else does that lie, right?
that's
Yeah.
But like you talked about, the legacy, the flip side is it's not just that their kids don't have money, their grandkids don't have that money.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I'm getting royalties for the entire sport of hockey,
Mm-hmm.
because my daddy's good with paperwork, like your daddy's good with paperwork,
Right.
changes some stuff.
It does.
However, if there were bands of my people being able to read and write,
True.
may not know how to do that paperwork.
So that leaves it to narrowing the categories down even more. It's just educated and uneducated. Think so?
I think that's part of it. But at the same time, let me take you under my wing and educate you because you're one of us. He ain't, but you are.
Right.
Same potential, same respect.
It should be on
person.
both sides of the street.
However, I would go to Woodstock and I won't go to Westinghouse to teach the paperwork needed for stuff like this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Interesting. That made me scratch my beard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ponder.
Yeah. I'm pondering. So, for what you do inner city, is everybody of the same culture and the kids, or is it mixed?
There's less diversity, but when I bring the inner city, the suburb is there, and then the parents of the suburb is there, right? And the reason why I'm doing that is because what we just discussed is I need you to know 7th grade Deshaun.
Mm-hmm.
So then when 7th grade Deshaun becomes graduating from college Deshaun, you don't think all Chicago people act a certain way because you've known Deshaun since he was in the 7th grade.
That's right.
Now, Deshaun, I'm going to teach you these people skills. I'm going to make these introductions. The first time you meet Mr. Casasio, Mr. Cappuccino, Cappuccino,
I'm offended.
you're going to shake hands and make eye contact.
Right.
You're going to say yes or no, sir.
That's right.
And not just because he's white. That's how we just talk to everybody.
Correct. It's a sign of respect.
But now, the person that you're going to put your arm around to teach the paperwork is a city kid.
Mm-hmm. I got you. Right. So even on inner city, you got Hispanic, you got white, you got African American, you got, I don't even know what the proper words are anymore. Is it African American? Is it black? Is that the acceptable? That's why I say of culture, because you can get away with of culture and it can mean all diversity.
For me, like I feel like when it's like African American or like anything past African American or black, like you're trying to like just
Seriously, of culture. That's why I changed it.
right. And I feel like you went a safe route, but you see people trying to do all this extra stuff.
Oh, they're just dodging around the corner.
Black guy.
Right. When I went to school, it was a black dude,
Right.
And then I was like, that's an African American. I'm like, what part of Africa is he from? Because he's from America.
He literally grew up down the
Right.
street from
Then am I Italian American? If I have 5 different cultures in my bloodline, do I have to label every single one? That's what I'm saying. Labeling makes it so much worse, right? And I'm sure that there's some people that would.
Okay, we were looking at candidates. One of my friends, we were looking at Republican candidates actually, and how they went about it was basically like the hot topics, like the catchphrases or the key phrases, whatever, the trigger words, basically.
Yep.
That if I don't like this category that you stand for, then you're out.
Yep.
Playing Guess Who? No. Okay, this is what I'm stuck with because I just heard that you said something about this hot phrase for me, and then if I don't agree, then you're out.
Yeah.
So when we categorize, if I don't like that, if it umbrellas under something that I've been told, even though without an experience, I can just
experience. I like that. Yeah, because life experience dictates everything, right? And that's the let's and I absolutely, and I'll say ism, can't use the word, but I absolutely hate when people say reverse ism. There's no such thing as reverse ism. It's just ism, no matter how you look at it. Let's look at the battle for Marshall Mathers.
Okay.
Huge, right? And that's a good example of being white, being poor, having a struggle, having a battle in life, and being told he can never do that in that space because of a different culture.
Right.
And he is the number one in his space for what he does. So, I mean, there's diversity to all of it, everyone, right? And I don't like the fact that if there's a category, first of all, I don't like the fact that I have to check off on a box whatever the ism is, right? The race on a card for an application, or because that shouldn't have to really matter. Or does it?
Slim did the move that athletes and like black athletes and celebrities do. And the move is be good enough at your craft that the other side can see it and profit off of it, and then they'll push you.
So it's based on financial.
And you're Slim is the nastiest lyricist. We forgot this. I monster.
I don't think anybody can touch it.
The only person is an alien or God. Like, the only two people can step in the booth with Eminem. However, though, life-wise, yes, fight.
Mm-hmm.
In that profession, you got 2 years at 8 Mile.
Mm-hmm.
And you went and met Dre.
Mm-hmm.
And some people said something, and then you destroyed them, and then they'd be like, "Get out of his way."
That's right.
I wish I could have.
Well, he had a mentor, right? Dre.
Dre.
So if it wasn't for Dre, that battle would have continued. And Dre was like, "Who cares what they think? Let's do this."
Say the most outlandish stuff because that's your right.
That's your thing. Yeah.
But the person from the other side saw your talent.
That's right.
Listen, I can make this number. You can make this number.
That's right.
Now open doors.
And it's open. And it's open
contract. Yeah. I see your talent.
That's right.
I, owner of the Lakers, can make this number. However, you'll make this number, which is a good number for you.
Tiger Woods.
We're going to make this number.
That's right.
And so that's the move. You have to be good enough at your craft that the other side sees a way to profit in that aspect.
Yeah.
And then that's when they'll open doors for you.
And then once the doors are open, because then the market floods. Right.
Market floods. But as long as you show, hey, listen, I'm still LeBron, still proving I'm good enough.
Yep.
I can get this number or demand this number, they'll do it. Problem is when that value decreases.
Yeah.
But he's been doing a good enough job off the court to make sure that when the ball stops bouncing, he's good.
That's smart.
Yeah.
Because you can't put all your ducks in one row, man. You can't put all your eggs in one basket, right?
No.
So, wow. Awesome. Well put, man. Well put. What do we got up there? Anything?
No.
Nobody's got a comment? Bill's
introduction.
Are we just pushing? Are we pushing too hard?
Very good. But no, man, I wanted to have this discussion just with you, just because, like I said, I think that you're one of the greats out here, man. You have a big heart for people.
Thanks, Phil.
And I think that people just getting a chance to sometimes see how, even though we don't really disagree too often, but when people are just willing to have that conversation, get an understanding of, there's really not a whole lot of differences. right? Eyes closed, I can't tell you what you are.
Right.
And I think that a lot of people need to look at more situations eyes closed, as far as like, if you didn't tell me that your letter was different than my letter, do I vibe with you as a person? Do your morals align? Similar interests, right? If we saw an injustice in certain situations, okay, I'd be fighting and Drew'd be fighting. That's all I need to know.
Yeah.
And he's a fellow superhero.
That's right.
Care what letter or color crayon he is.
Well, right.
That's brother.
Right. Hey, when you find the need, it doesn't matter what the situation is. If you find a need that you know that you can fix, then do it.
Right.
Don't hold back. Do it. I was told and I'm not going to mention obviously names for reasons, but there is an empowerment women's group that was supposed to be awesome, and they're the leaders of the community and everything else. My daughter told me, she's a smart kid, 15. She's like, and it was like a women's group, right? There's nothing but labeling women in it. And she's like, if you label it that way, you're taking half of the demographic of the planet away from helping you empower you more. And they should just call it people that empower others. And that was taken as, you hate women. And so I said, okay. So it just sounds like an entitled group. So I said, welcome to L3. I built my own women's group, handed it over to a bunch of people, and it's blown up. Not just blown up locally, but we have chapters going out, right? And that's a ladies leadership league, because empowerment doesn't mean anything unless you're a leader, right? I love to help veterans. Love it. I'm not a veteran, but I want to know what I can do to make a difference. We created a show, Roger That Chronicles. I handed it to the right people. They're blowing it up. Veterans helping veterans, right? I have a business that helps veterans. My business and business resourcing is about helping others. We just make money doing it, right? So if the focus of the public can be more about how do you help someone else, notice that you'll start profiting from it. It's a dollar sign. It's a community build. It's a relationship build. And that creates unity. Right. And it doesn't matter what color you are, what crayon you are in the box. Because if you're going to color a picture, you want all the crayons in the damn box, right? So that's why you and I mesh well together, because I have a lot of the same beliefs that you have. I just carry maybe in a different shopping bag or play it as a different tune.
Right. Yeah. Loved it. Anything that we could do, obviously, on the bridge, anything that you want us to promote as well for the veterans or the L3 as well. Any way that we can help, recognize more superheroes out there in the community, we'd be happy to do.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, and stay tuned. Leveling Up with Cappuccino, The Art of Leveling Up.
Nice.
That's a show coming out. It's all about helping others. It's about putting people. We got keynote speakers like yourself, that can be on it. It's a Shared Connections network. It's a group that I own with a couple others that has gone global on Zoom.
There we go.
And it's as well as a DCCS product to where we have local events, and then we're going to try to put one giant event together for all the states to come together to just come hammer it out. We're trying to make a difference by the numbers now, right? So awesome. Yeah, I appreciate, if you and the bridge and can throw out some support there. Maybe we do kind of a cohesion thing where it comes together, man.
I'm with it.
All about it.
All about forming the Avengers.
And folks, author, if you haven't checked out Phil's books, where do they find that? You got to check it out.
learntosew.co on the website, or inbox me.
You are a humble man, because you never promote your own book. I watch the show, and I barely ever hear you talk about it. Here's the thing. If you want to, as a coach, right? If you want people to know about you and who you are and what your belief system is, you have to aim that into the direction for where they can learn without even meeting you.
Right.
And that is your book. So check it out, guys. It's both books are fantastic. And then you know more about Phil. And then the man's got a clothing line. What don't you do? Right.
Sleep.
I still don't have a signed hat. I have to come in here with all these different hats, right? All right, I'll take whatever. Right. I'll promote. Put a little barcode on it, but you gotta scan that if you want one, right? I'm okay with. See what I'm saying?
I'm with you.
See what I'm saying?
I like that.
All right.
We'll play. Well, we are top of the hour, man. Thank you so much, Drew Cappuccino, for dropping in with us and being the other Superman on the show and the station. We love and appreciate everything that you do. Thank you guys for spending time with us this morning on the bridge. Once again, we think it is better to build a bridge than to burn one. Take that time to have conversation with your fellow man to understand the other man. And we absolutely love you guys. You have a great, fantastic weekend. We'll see you next week.
Be the change you want to see.